Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to the Game of Fortune. Let's carry on, shall we? As Devon, we just won our game of Evolution. Finally, that game went on for quite some time. And Richard is dead. But the rest of us are alive, so I guess it's a win. It's the lounge again? Oh, geez, they're finally here. My head turned when I heard William's irritating voice. What the heck took you guys so long? Well, we didn't exactly have a choice in the length of our game. It's not like we wanted to be gone for hours on end. Don't mind him, he's just being impatient. William, it wasn't that long. Around an hour or so, I'd say. No, it felt like longer than that. It must have been like 6 hours. We definitely weren't gone for that long. Your perception of time is screwed up. It's not. You four were just gone for a long ass time. William, how many times have I told you to be patient? I know, but still, it's annoying to wait so long. I tried to ignore the two. I didn't care for their bickering or whatever. Only one thing mattered. I looked around the lounge to see who was there. Kishi and Philip were on the couch. It looked as though they were having a conversation. But when they heard us enter, they seemed to pause and look over at us for a second. Hey Devon, you made it. You made it through the first trial. Good on you. I'm sure that you feel... I turned away from them and continued looking. I didn't want to hear whatever congratulations they had for me. I looked over towards the kitchenette. If he wasn't in the lounge, then maybe he was there. I guess he's dead then. But all I saw was Grant sitting at the table with a drink in his hand. Oh, Devon, I see you made it. Good job. Took you quite some time, but here you are. He wasn't there. He wasn't in the lounge. He wasn't in the kitchenette. Then he was... Damn it. Damn it. What's wrong? You okay? Grant got up from his seat and walked over to try and comfort me. Leave me alone. I don't want your pity. Pity? That's not... Shut up. Just leave me alone. Useless. It's all useless. I thought I'd be able to handle this. The idea that Clyde was dead. That I'd steeled myself up for this, but I collapsed onto the ground, covering my eyes, which had begun flowing with tears again. It's over. It's over. It's okay. Huh? I felt hands wrap around me from behind, firmly, but gently, into a close hug. That was his voice. I'm not hallucinating. That's his voice. I'm here. It's okay. You don't have to worry. Clyde? I wiped away my tears and slowly turned my head to see if it was true. If he was there... You're here. You're alive. Damn it. Damn it, why'd you make things so damn scary? I, didn't mean to. You fucking arsehole. I turned around and fully hugged him back. I buried my face into his chest and sobbed, locked my arms around his back. I didn't care if everyone saw. I didn't care if I was making a scene. I just wanted to hold him, to be held by him, to be assured in his arms that everything would be okay. Just for a moment I felt safe, and I wanted it to last for as long as it could. But nothing could last forever. After what felt like hours of crying into Clyde's chest, I managed to get myself back together. And of course, there was an eager crowd surrounding me, all too happy to comment on the explosion of emotions I just went through. Guys, can we get a little privacy here? Oh, sure, I'd love to do that, Clyde, but there really aren't a lot of places we could run off to. We could stuff ourselves in the kitchenette, I suppose. But it'd still be unfair giving you the whole lounge, don't you think? I just don't like having so many eyes on me. Oh, come on, it's fine. Enjoy the moment. Be enjoying it more with less eyes on me. It would be better if we weren't gawking at them. I'm sure the two of them are more than happy to see each other nice and safe. Yeah, it's nice knowing Clyde safe and alive. I was afraid he'd be gone forever. Now there's a powerful bond. It's bringing a tear to my eye just looking at them. Clyde may be annoyed by everyone commenting on the whole situation, but I was happy. I didn't care who was looking. Just seeing him squirm around a bit was better than seeing a corpse. Or nothing at all. I guess we should catch you up on everything that's happened so far, shouldn't we? Oh yeah, let's see. Maria gave a quick sweep around the room and nodded her head. We're missing Zeph and Jade. Kishi and Grant sadly nodded their heads. Grant, Zeph and Jade and I had to play a 2 versus 2 game. Zeph and Jade got paired together, and of course I got paired with Grant. We had to play a weird game where we were swinging from ropes. We had to catch and throw fruits into a basket. It was a very disorienting game, to say the least. In the end, Grant and I managed to beat Zeph and Jade, so those two ended up dying in their game. Honestly, I'm a little envious of you two. Huh? I mean, here you two are together, holding on to one another like your lives depended on it. I've already lost Zeph, so I have to go through the rest of this alone. But that's the risk you have to accept when you join a game with your partner. That could have been us, Clyde. I could have been forced to play some game against one another. Maybe he was right in splitting off. It's never easy to lose your partner, but such things are inevitable here. Sometimes it's better to accept the loss early than break down over it later. Well, that's basically what happened in our end. Grant and I got here first, so we had time to chat. It wasn't so much of a chat as a one-sided interrogation. Aren't all interrogations one-sided? You don't even deny it. Interrogation? What are you interrogating him for? Motives, but it's nothing you have to worry yourself over. Despite his words, it was obvious Grant didn't look happy about whatever they were talking about. Enough of that. Let's talk about what happened in our game. William pushed his way into the conversation, puffing up his chest like a proud peacock. Clyde, Philip, Elizabeth and myself went through our games with no problems. I wouldn't say that, we had plenty of problems. Most of them were your fault, in fact. Don't get mad just because I wanted to add a little challenge to an otherwise easy game. There's no point in winning a game with no challenge, right? With all due respect, William, the game was challenging enough without your mistakes. It was. Don't you know how hard it is to wander around a museum looking for paintings? You had to look for paintings? Well, it was more than that. It was like a scavenger hunt. Essentially, we were tasked with finding paintings in a huge museum and identifying which ones were counterfeit. Well, that sounds impossible, at least if you don't have an eye for that kind of thing. Well, it was difficult, but if you know your art history, some things stand out like scorpion in the Arctic. Odd comparison, but apt. Elizabeth was quite helpful in that regard. I had a good eye for these things too. Who was it that found the last counterfeit painting at the end? Me, because you picked out 3 wrong ones in a row. I was just testing you, increasing the stakes to make things more interesting. You do remember that each time you got it wrong, you knocked off 5 minutes from our searching time. We went from having 20 minutes to having 5. All part of the plan to get your mind racing. Elizabeth, I don't doubt you're doing God's work teaching the boy, but he nearly got us killed. Why can't he admit his mistakes? What have you been doing these past few years? I will not hear a word about this from you, of all people. William is... Elizabeth looked over to William and rubbed the side of her head. Like a sapling, full of potential when given proper sunlight, water and soil. He will one day stand tall, proudly in the sky, extending his branches far and wide. That's right, I'll be a huge tree of a human one day. Unlimited potential. He's less of a sapling and more like seaweed. An annoying plant that drifts aimlessly in the water before getting tangled up and causing problems for everyone. Now that's quite a comparison. Seaweed drifting aimlessly. That's not true. I ain't no aimless piece of algae. Quit making fun of me. It looked that for once William was trying to hold back tears over the insults. A display that made Elizabeth glare right at Philip. Still, we should do our best not to play the blame game too much. After all, it's expected for us to make mistakes from time to time. Just don't do it again, alright? Me? Make a mistake twice? Don't be ridiculous, I wouldn't even make it once. Clyde and Philip both collectively groaned, but I couldn't help but notice something was off. From the sound of it, all 4 of them could have died if they didn't find all the paintings. But wouldn't that be impossible? Jade and Zeph were already dead, so it wouldn't be possible for them to play a game where more than 2 people could die. Actually, doesn't that apply to the game I just played too? Sure, 3 of us survived, but realistically only 2 of us would have been allowed to die, right? Unless Bella has some safeguard against the wrong number of people dying. I stewed over the thought for a few seconds before Elizabeth called out to me. So what happened in your game? Elizabeth turned to me with an eyebrow raised. Oh, right. Shit, I completely forgot Philip would probably care about Richard's well-being. Well, we had a game called Evolution where basically we had to find food, water and shelter to survive. And we had these traits that helped us survive as well, and we had to basically do that for 3 days. If we didn't, then we'd die. I see. So then Richard... Did he starve to death, not get enough water, or did something else happen? Do I tell him the truth? That he attacked us and we had to kill him to survive? It'd be easier to lie and say he just died out there in the chaos of the game somewhere, but... The truth. My throat felt tight as I dug my hands in my pockets. Richard, we had to kill Richard. He was going to kill us if we didn't. We didn't want to. Really, we didn't, but Richard was going to kill us if we didn't defend ourselves. It was hard. I know that he didn't want to kill us, but he needed to if he was going to get any food. Is that really the truth? You're not trying to pull one over me, are you? Sorry, Philip, but it's the truth. He said he didn't want to do it, but he needed food to survive. And he thought the only way he could do that was by killing the 2 of us. I see. Philip began to pace around a bit before letting out a heavy sigh. Then that's it. There's nothing more to it, is there? He's gone. Well, that's the price you pay sometimes when you leave your beloved ones behind. But I can't let myself be swept up in sorrow. Why, I'm sure he'd be shaking me like a soda can if he saw me so downtrodden. So Richard, I will press on. He clapped his hands and put on a cheery smile once again. How? How are you able to shake off his death so easily? Kishi and Grant at least saw their partners die. They've already come to terms with it somewhat, I imagine. But you never saw Richard. You don't even know how he died. Well, that's true. I suppose you could be lying to me. Maybe you murdered him without mercy, took him by surprise and tore him apart like animals. No, it wasn't like that. Then maybe he tripped on a root and just tumbled down a mountain and you're trying to make his death a bit more grand than that. I don't think that we'd want to do that either. Well, no matter what kind of death he had, I can't wallow in sadness. I could shrug it off in a way because, well, I'm old. I'm sure I'll be seeing him again soon enough anyway. What's with that weird cackle? It's nothing really. I made of sturdy stuff. If these bones aren't, let's leave it at that, huh? I couldn't help but feel that he was hiding something from me, but it didn't seem like he was going to tell me now. Then that takes care of everything, right? For the time being, it would seem so. All we can do now is wait for the last group to arrive. So among the dead are Jade, Zeph, and Richard. That means that the last group will have to have someone die, right? That's right. And that group was Teresa, Alphonse, Lilith, and Laura. Actually, now that I think about it, I completely forgot the last group was different. You're right, I didn't think about that at the time, but these aren't the groups we agreed upon earlier, were they? That's true. What the heck happened? Why'd you all change groups? Should have been Devon, Richard, Lilith, and Laura in door 3. Did something happen after the second group went through their game? Oh, well, that's because I insisted. What do you mean you insisted? That's not a problem, is it? I just wanted to join the third door instead of the fourth one. It's not a crime. No, but why would you bother swapping groups? You could have brought it up wanting door 3 earlier when we were choosing groups. The same arguments were made earlier when we were discussing this. Ultimately, we decided that as long as the involved parties were in agreement, that it would be fine. Initially, it was just supposed to be a swap between Richard and me, but Maria insisted that she join door 3 as well. Lilith and Laura didn't want to split apart from one another, and because of that, Lilith and Laura ended up going through the fourth door with Teresa and Alphonse. If Maria hadn't felt the need to haphazardly join door 3 because I wanted it, well, perhaps Richard would still be alive after all. You conniving arsehole. You're really going to blame his death on me? That somehow if I were in a different door the same shit wouldn't have happened? Well, you did kill him, did you not? You admitted as much only moments prior. If you were not there, then frankly you wouldn't have had the chance to kill him. Also, had you not joined, you'd have had a much safer odds of survival in door 4, no doubt. Your selfish actions were what put him in danger. That's just basic logic. Now, let's not get into the weeds of all this. I don't enjoy my son being used as a debate piece. Apologies, I don't mean to use his death as some kind of argumentative tool. Yes, you do. Merely to state that things could have been different if Maria didn't feel the need to push herself into door 3 is all. Oh, there's no telling what would have happened. Maybe they still ended up dead in door 4. Or maybe be alive but Lilith and Laura would be dead. There are no saints here. Eventually, we'll all be asked to take a life in these games. So let's not blame death simply because of door choice, because that's just ridiculous. No one is sentenced to death simply by their choice of door. Unless they picked door 4 and nobody's died yet. Perhaps I spoke out of turn. You're damn right you did. You still didn't answer my earlier question. Why'd you want the third door so badly? Was it because... Before Kishi could finish her sentence, Everett cut her off. Before you say something offensive, I'll confess. Confess? Confess to what? I didn't want to say it because it was embarrassing, but I'll admit it, We all waited to hear Everett's words as he seemed to struggle to complete a sentence. I was scared. Scared? Bullshit, you weren't scared. You chose that door because Lilith, Laura, and Devon were the ones taking that door. I'm telling you the truth, I was scared. Scared of what exactly? Maria? Alphonse? Your own partner, Teresa? No, of course not. I was scared of them. If I was scared of them, I would have volunteered to join them when they announced they were going to enter the fourth door. And no, before you ask again, I'm not terrified of Teresa. Mildly annoyed, but not scared. No, you're scared of going into door 4 where you might have to die no matter what. Then what exactly? I was afraid of playing a winless game. Huh? A winless game? You mean the worst case scenario? Everett nodded his head. I'm a man that works with numbers, probabilities and possibilities, and the worst case scenario just kept popping up in my head. Hold on, you have to slow down and explain what you're talking about. Well, I'll explain it simply. Statistically speaking, door 4 is the safest door to enter. There are high odds that at least 4 people are dead by the time you have to play a game. Even if 4 people don't die, chances are that around 2 or 3 people are dead by the time you enter through the door. You won't have to play it as difficult a game, or the amount of casualties drop. But there's always the possibility that no one will have died by the time you enter the door 4. What do you suppose happens then? Well, Bell needs 4 people to die each round, so everyone in the last room would have to die. That's right, we'd essentially have to play a winless game, executed without mercy. Wait, but doesn't Bell have to give you a game where it's at least possible to win? That was one of her rules, something like every game has to have a chance of victory no matter how small. That's true, but there's an exception. That rule doesn't apply to the last room. Grant nodded his head. That's correct, and thus you can never be guaranteed survival, even in the last room. I hate to admit it, but I got scared. It was a small chance, such a small chance, but it's always there, the chance to be executed without much of a fight. I couldn't let that fate happen to me. Mock me if you must, but I just couldn't do it. Come on, don't tell me you actually believe this bullcrap, do you? What would you know? Have you ever been executed before? Everett suddenly erupted in anger and glared down at Maria. Do you know what it's like to just blink and wake up to darkness? To die without even knowing what happened? Well, do you? Do you live in fear of the dark, of sleep, that death might just whisk you away if you so much as blink? Maria stood there stunned and wide-eyed. I think we all were. As the mostly composed Everett let out a torrent of frustration and anger. You're free to all have your suspicions of me, but it's the truth. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to splash my face with water. Everett pushed his way toward the bathroom in the lounge and shut the door behind him quickly. Whoa. Talk about a drama queen. Now's really not the time for that, William. And it was really convenient that you decided to talk once you were out of punching distance. It's probably best to give him some time to relax. I think that we're all a little high-strung from the various discussions. Let's just take a moment and relax and wait for the last group. We all agreed and slowly broke off from our little huddle and wandered around the lounge. Of course, I stuck close to Clyde. After everything I'd been through, I wanted to treasure every moment we had together. You know, you don't look like you're relaxing all that much. Guess not, I'm just thinking about things. I poked his forehead, as if I could somehow massage out the crease between his brows. Can't you stop thinking for a few minutes? No point to it when you're not in a game. I guess you're right. By the way, do you need anything? Food? Water? Despite the fact that I just played a game where all we did was eat, drink, and sleep, I could go for a small stack. Sure, I'll go grab something for you. I'll be right back. Clyde got up and walked over to the kitchenette, and just as he left, someone else plopped into his seat. Kishi, to be specific. Hey, can I ask you something? Her voice was quiet as she kept eyeing the door to the bathroom. Sure, what's up? Not here, just in the corner of the lounge. I promise it won't take long. Alright, I don't see a reason why not. I stood up and walked with Kishi to the corner of the lounge. Well, we're here, what do you want to ask? Don't know how long he's going to be in that bathroom, so I'll just ask it. Did Everett say anything strange to you in your game? Or even before that? Strange? You looking for something specific? Nothing specific really, just anything that seemed odd or caught you off guard. Maybe he asked you how you were feeling or if you needed help or anything like that. Well, I know that he and Maria didn't get along, though he said that it was because she blames the Digits of Eden for her mother's death. Something about her mother blackmailing them and how they couldn't let it slide. He also said something about Maria and her mother, how Maria and her mother used to be part of the Digits of Eden, and that Maria was once a recruiter. He really said all that? Yeah, it was kind of hard to believe at first. I didn't think his lips were so loose on the subject. Wait, so it's true? She really was a recruiter once? Shh, not so loud. But yes, it's true. I don't know the details, but Maria was very good at convincing people to join. That's part of the reason why she's here. She's done more good for the Digits of Eden, and I'm sure she's willing to admit. I suppose I could see it. Maria had a very charismatic nature, so it wouldn't be that hard to see someone like her get someone involved in whatever weird stuff the Digits of Eden does. There was one other thing too. Everett said he was worried that she and Alphonse weren't here to revive her mother, but they might be here for a revenge. Revenge? That's what he thinks at least. Revenge, but who would she be trying to... Shit. Kishi's eyes went wide with panic as she looked toward the kitchenette, where she saw Maria drinking from a glass. Kishi shook her head and growled under her breath. Shit, what the hell am I going to do? Are you alright? I mean, I know it's some weird stuff, but it's not serious, right? Devon, I wish I could fill you in on every thought going through my mind right now, but I just don't have the time. This isn't the time or the place, it's just not. I can tell you one thing with certainty. Is it that Everett can't be trusted? Huh? Clyde had showed up holding a sandwich and a glass of water. This is for you, Devon. I hope I'm not barging in on a private conversation. Yes, no, maybe. Also, thank you. I took the food and drink and began to fill myself up. Well, it is private, but I think Clyde's entitled to be in on it. Especially since he managed to finish my sentence. Tell me, what makes you think Everett is untrustworthy? A lot of things, actually. First of all, there's the whole group swapping thing. He claimed that he did it because he was afraid of being killed off in the fourth door. He made a big display of it being a big deal, but I just can't imagine that he really had that fear. If he really was afraid, why'd he volunteer to join that door in the first place? I can't imagine someone like him didn't consider Bell's rules carefully. And let's suppose that he didn't consider Bell's rules at first. Surely he would have realised it later and made a suggestion to swap later, right? But Devon, did he ever mention this fear at all to you when he asked to trade groups? No, he didn't. I think he just gave some kind of nothing answer. Like, I thought about it, but I don't want to go through the fourth door anymore. He could have been afraid to admit it. Devon, did Everett seem afraid, gloomy or on edge? Anything that would indicate that he was afraid, or just really wanted to trade? Nothing like that really. He seemed like a cool customer, as usual. Maybe he's good at hiding his emotions, but we just saw him explode out in anger right there. It seemed genuine from what I can tell, but I don't think that he actually felt that fear when he was choosing groups. Which brings me to my next point. Why did he wait specifically until after my group left to play the second game to ask for a group trade? If he was afraid, he could have asked someone in the second group. You'd have more options, more people willing to trade and swap around if needed. And really, there are only two things that come to mind. The first is he wanted to trade specifically with the people in the third group. That'd be you, Lilith, Laura, and Richard. Or that he thought that the people in the first and second door group would veto his idea for changing groups. It's even possible that it's a mix of both, that he knew that if he suggested a particular group swap, that we'd be against it. But who would be against something like that? Kishi? Well, there's me. You? Really? There are certain people that I personally wouldn't trust Everett with if I could help it. I was honestly kind of relieved to know that he'd be going into the fourth door with Maria and Alphonse at the time. He might have also suspected that I wouldn't be comfortable with you possibly playing a game against him, which, if I had known he'd do this, I'd definitely have spoken up about it. Why, you say considerate? Yeah, considerate enough to worry about you playing a game against probably the strongest guy here, which ties me into my next point pretty well, I think. Devon, whenever it asked you to do the group swap, who did he ask to trade with? It was Richard at first. Figured as much. There's no way that Lilith would willingly split from his sister, and then he left you and Richard as options to trade with. If you were willing to avoid the worst case scenario, he would have offered the option to trade with you or Richard. But he specifically asked for Richard. Don't you think that's strange? If he wanted to be chivalrous, he would have offered to position to you, Devon, and given you an easier time. Considering you're probably more stressed about being away from me than Richard was with Philip, that would have been the nice thing to do. The more you talk about it, the more suspicious it seems. I mean, the only reason the swap didn't happen that way was because Richard asked the others about it, and then Maria got riled up. Yeah, she did, didn't she? I think I have a feeling as to why. Clyde turned to Kishi. Probably for the same reason you would have spoken up. The same reason Maria stepped in to join Everett and not let him join the group as he intended. Oh, you're quite clever, aren't you? That's good. Being clever will get you far here. Well, Devon, what do you think? Huh? You're asking me? Just want to make sure we're on the same page. You gotta be aware of this stuff too. Consider what Everett's goal was. He wanted to join you, Laura, and Lilith in door 3 without me or anyone prior knowing. We know specifically because of how he acted, who he wanted to trade with, and then trying to make excuses for it. Makes you think. What did you three have in common that made him so interested in you? That made him interested in us? Well, now you mention it. They're all women? Everett must have been looking to take advantage of us. Well, that's certainly true. The three of you are women. I don't think that's what he was aiming for. Chances are he might have tried the same thing if, say, you and me were swapped. You think so? Yep, though maybe he wouldn't be so bold with me as he would with the three of you. Think it over again. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Okay? Don't know about the Game of Fortune? Laura, Lilith, and I didn't know a lick about this place before we got here. You can tell because Lilith got into a fight with Belle when we arrived, and I'm sure that Laura never intended to get attacked by a snake. And of course, you and I didn't know the true nature of this place either. She picked the three of us because... So you picked the three of us because we were in the dark about this whole place. But lots of people here seem to have a better idea about what's going on around here. Or at least, it seems like it. Bingo, nailed it right on the head. I felt a swell of pride right up... my second attempt as well. I felt a swell of pride rise up in me as I got the answer right, and then I began to wonder why the heck Everett was interested in a bunch of newbies like us. So exactly what is this game here? The three of us didn't have a clue about this place and you wanted to take advantage of that? How? Was it influence? Spot on again, Devon. I think at least that's what I think. I think he was hoping to get a prime opportunity to influence and convince the three of you. An opportunity to chat with you while you were still worried, afraid, looking for a way out of this hell. Maybe you could provide answers, give a solution, something that would make you be practically eating out of his hand. At times, it did feel like Everett was trying to position himself like some generous helper, making himself seem innocent just to protect his boss, not having ill intentions. Maria was there to put pressure on him, but if it was just me, Laura, and Lilith, who's to say what he would have done? He could have said anything and we wouldn't have been any wiser until we met up with everyone again. In the game I was playing with Philip, we had time to chat and he told me that Everett works for the Digits of Eden. Not just some small-time position either, the guy's got to have the information about how this place works. Yeah, he told me himself that he works for the guy in the golden mask at the ceremony thing. Nigel Edwards was his name, I think. That all checks out. Everett definitely knows the inner workings of the game. He's been involved with the Digits of Eden for a long time now. Just from exposure, he'd know a lot. I see. What I'm not getting is what his end goal here is. Was he trying to influence us just so you have a better chance of winning the game? The whole thing, not just the one game we played together. It seems like a waste. We could die in any of the games later on. Or do you really think that it was a smart move to befriend us and have us hanging on his every word? It just seems like an odd strategy. It is weird. It sounds like an investment. High risk now for high returns later, maybe. An investment? I may have an iron stomach, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna eat a sand-covered turnip. Everett sighed and continued to wipe away the turnip. Well, then how about we look for water together? 6 eyes are better than 2 after all. Or I could just go alone, but if that's the case, I'm gonna need that turnip back. Huh? But you can't eat it. Why not just give it to me? The turnip's an investment. The idea is that by using our powers together, we can both benefit. It's unfair for you to reap all the benefits of the food that I cashed and I get nothing out of it, don't you think? Aha, so you think you're entitled to this little gift then? I just told you this is an investment, not a gift. Everett takes his investments seriously. They're not just gifts. If he's putting something into someone, he'll probably want something out of it. That's a scary thought. Does that mean that he's trying to get something out of me? Because I'm naive and I don't know what's going on here? But that seems even more strange. What the heck could he hope to get out of me? Mind filling in the blanks for us, Kishi? Huh? What? Kishi seemed surprised that we were addressing her, as her thoughts were occupied by other things. Kishi? I'm paying attention, I was just lost in thought. What did you want to know? Well, I was asking if you might be able to fill in the gaps that we're missing here. Why would Everett have to want to invest in people here if they're ultimately going to die? Philip filled me in on a few details. He told me that you're involved with the Digits of Eden too, and you obviously know a bit about Everett himself. So can you give us some information? Anything would be useful. Well... Suddenly Keisha seemed hesitant and stiffened up. Her gaze shifted behind us and both Clyde and I turned our heads to see what she was looking at. Everett was exiting out of the bathroom. Don't stare, just keep chatting. I'll make this quick so I can get out of your hair. There's a lot going on and I really do want to fit you in, but there's just not enough time, and now's not the best moment for it either. What do you mean now's not the best moment? We might die in the next game, there's no better moment than now. I know, trust me, I know. But I can't tell you the specifics, plus I have my own issues that I gotta look into now. You can't just say vague things and turn us loose. Give us something to work with. It can be anything. Everett's goals, your personal information, what the Digits of Eden know about this place. I grabbed onto Kishi's shoulders and looked her square in the eye with honest desperation. Kishi, please, we're just trying to survive. We're trying to figure out what the hell is going on here. And everyone here but us seems to have a clue, so just please, give us some hope to latch onto. She flinched for a moment and then seemed to stare into my eyes for what felt like an eternity. As if she was searching for something in them, or maybe she'd already found it and was trying to figure out how to respond. But after a few seconds, she finally replied, I'll make you a deal. A deal? I need information out of Maria and Everett. What their goals are, what their plans are, what they want to wish for. By expansion, that also applies to Teresa and Alphonse. They're not going to open up to me about it, but you two? They might be willing to divulge that information to you, especially if you can get on their good side. You want us to act as spies? Basically, it's real important that I know what the heck they want. If you can tell me what they're going to wish for, then I'll tell you everything. Everything about the Digits of Eden, what I suspect Everett's intentions are, even how to survive this place. We can all survive? Yes, we can all survive. But I can't give that out for free. I would, but I really, really, really need to know what they're going to wish for first. That's fine and all, but how exactly do you expect us to be able to get that information out of them? I don't know, work your charms on them or something. Obviously, you're going to have to go into a game with one of them. There's 2 of you, and I'm betting that Maria's not going to want to pair up with Everett again next round. So one of you could go with Maria or Alphonse. The other can go with Everett or Teresa. That's assuming Alphonse and Teresa survive their game. Well, the point is, as long as one of their respective pairs survives, it's fine. Talk with them. Try to figure out why they're here and what they're going to wish for. I need this information by the 3rd round because the odds are that a good number of them might die in the next game. So do we have a deal? It's not like we really have a choice. We either agree or we don't, and we'd be left out to dry. I want to help you two, I really do, but I got my own mission here and I need information if I'm going to end up doing it right. Well, you heard Clyde. We're going to have to agree to this. Great, then just figure out what you're going to do during the grouping and we'll be set. One last thing. What? How do we know you're going to be able to give us this information? You might end up dying in the game before we get a chance to ask you anything. I'll group up with one of you. And if we have to end up playing against one another, I'll tell you everything you want to know before we play. It's only fair considering what I'm asking of you. Alright, that sounds good to me. Okay, since we've agreed, then I'll just as she was about to walk off, she heard the sound of a door opening. Really, it was more like a slam, a heavy impact that forced the door open. The final group had appeared and everyone in the lounge turned their heads to see the final three. Who the final three entering would be. We wouldn't have to wait long, though. Alright, with that, we're going to wrap this one up here because we're out of time for today. But it looks like in the next episode, we're going to be kicking off the next death game, which is only game 2, I believe, in this run at this point. So, long way to go for this run. Anyway, thanks for watching, Preston. I'll see you in the next